hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on. Go play. Rush on the West Ham Network. Hope you're well. Happy Thursday. We are getting through this week. We are. It's slowly but surely. And obviously then we entertain the Toonami on Sunday. And hopefully it won't be a Toonami. You know, there was practically a tsunami out there at the moment. And I'm not even in the Caribbean. It's absolutely awful weather at the moment in the UK. But yes, the sort of the samba music, the carnival atmosphere is taking over the Budden, as according to reports, West Ham are looking at Latino flair for look at the shoulders, a Latino flair in terms of our January transfer window business. We spoke about on Tuesday. I want to say Tuesday about Alejandro. Or Alexandro, rather, his name is properly. The Lille 26-year-old 6'2" centre half. Is he 26? I think so. Otherwise, I just made that up. Anyway, Brazilian centre half from Lille, and how we are potentially looking at him as a top defensive target. But obviously, another area we need is the forward line. And it does seem to be a lot of news in the last sort of 24 hours looking at comings and goings and not happenings. In terms of our sort of forward line, and they're all Brazilian focused. Let's start with the ones who have been offered, the potentials. A name that's regularly appeared has been Pedro, the Flamengo. Yeah, I always say flamenco. That's the dance, isn't it? Flamenco, that's it. Flamengo striker, who apparently has been linked with a move to West Ham once again. 3-time Brazilian international, I've mentioned him many a time, is someone that we were linked with when we were looking at 𝗕𝗢𝗬𝗦. But according to reports, intermediaries have brought Pedro to West Ham's attention with holding discussions with the East London outfit, apparently, according to reports. It does seem that when you know, in terms of Brazilian players or players coming from the Brazilian Serie A, January is a better time to buy them, just in terms of the way the Brazilian league sort of sets itself out. He has a cracking goal record in Flamengo. In total, he has 100. Well, in his career, he's got 181 goals and 382 appearances, which is mental. He spent a short time in Fiorentina for about 4 or 5 games, I think he played. But most of his time has been in the Brazilian Serie A. So he's been in the Serie A, but he's been in the Brazilian Serie A, apart from 4 games when he was in the Italian Serie A. But his current spell at Flamengo is 145 goals and 284 appearances. And he scored his first senior international goal for Brazil back in 22, I think it was September, and was called up to the Brazilian squad in 2022. 28, 6'1". So he's probably, you know, this is the last move, I'd say, for him. In terms of having a good couple of years. I mean, he's on the older side, but apparently he's been offered to us. Interestingly, he played for Flamengo and previously he played Fluminense, and they're sort of arch rivals in Brazilian Serie A. So we have apparently been offered him, but also another striker has been offered to West Ham, and he's Brazilian as well, and it's Kaio. Now, according to reports, he is also someone who has been offered to the Hammers. Reports in RTE Esporte reported that the Hammers are considering a bid of around £22 million. There was no price on the Pedro deal, but he's currently plying his trade in the Brazilian Serie A. Cruzeiro, and he's their top goal scorer. However, the Brazilian side has insisted he was in no rush to move across to the Atlantic for a second time. He did it in 21 to 24, where he played for Juventus, which was a very difficult time. He was quoted on Casa TV to say he hopes to stay at Cruzeiro, and he scored 20 goals in 38 appearances so far for them. But yes, apparently intermediaries with knowledge of the situation clearly seem to believe they could get a deal done. Jorge is someone who has played alongside Lucas Paqueta in the Brazilian national side. Interesting. I mean, Kaio is 4 or 5 years younger than Pedro. And yeah, I mean, it'd be a case of one or the other. It won't be both. But one person it won't be is, in terms of Brazilian, obviously not necessarily in the Brazilian Serie A, but previously he was, currently plying his trade in La Liga, is Endrick. We were linked, or have been linked with a potential loan deal for him. But according to Fabrizio Romano last night, he declared that Lyon are in pole position to be getting him on loan. And in fact, he is currently, according to him, understood Olympic Lyon have started talks to sign him on loan in January. Talks are already underway with an official approach to sign him on loan from Real Madrid. Lyon presented their plans to Endrick, who's open to talk and accessing all options. There could be an opportunity for West Ham to come back in, but it does seem to be Lyon is going to be where he's at. And speaking with the Brazilian theme, I thought I'd throw in Paqueta into it. Obviously, yesterday Holly spoke about the Willie won't he saga. We're led to believe that he will be a West Ham player for this season at least, with the likelihood being he will be moving potentially back to Flamengo at the end of this season. Right at the beginning, there was I remember the beginning of the season, there was a Instagram post of him saying, "Oh, one more year together" or something like that, and then he was questioned. And actually, no, translation, it meant, we go again for another year, not necessarily being my final year. So his contract, he's still contracted to 2027, I think, the summer of 2027. So realistically, he'll be entering his last 12 months of his contract at the end of this season. So to get any value out of him, otherwise he'll leave for nothing. I think the likelihood is he'll probably go in the summer. And I think I would assume it'll be back to Brazil. Does have a World Cup in the middle to work with, so whether that will hinder his it might sort of involve more people to come in for him potentially in the summer. But it does seem that it's more likely that he will not be a West Ham player by the time the 26-27 season kicks off. But according to reports, he isn't going anywhere in January. That's what we're led to be believed. And that's it. A whistle-stop tour of Brazil with all of the fun of the fair. Just throwing John Victor in there as well, isn't it? I mean, I know he's at what's name, but might as well. Any more Brazilian players are we linked with? I mean, it's useful when you've got a manager who speaks Portuguese as well. And anyone who watches the training videos, when he's talking to Luis Guilherme, he talks in Portuguese and then goes and talks and converses with the other one in English. I think that's I think that's brilliant, and that is how the modern manager needs to be. You can't be speak English or don't speak anything at all. You have to be able to speak different languages and flip in between them as well, which is, but also be understandable in those languages as well. It was always the issue with Lopetegui, wasn't it? We never really understood what he was saying, and he was speaking English. But anyway, if you like what we do, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. We'll be back later on for Hammer's headlines. I think the press conference is tomorrow because we're playing on Sunday. If it is today, no, I think it is tomorrow. Anyway, but we'll do that tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. Stay dry. Much love. Peace out, mofos.